Hey everyone, back again with another video, and today's video is going to be a bit unorthodox because instead of talking about specific Yu-Gi-Oh cards and what they do, I'm going to focus on how Yu-Gi-Oh cards kind of are references to popular culture, films, shows, comic books, and video games in general. And I found throughout the years that a lot of these archetypes do have very, unavoidable references to a lot of popular things that we see today in pop culture, and I wanted to focus on that particular topic today. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the first card that comes to mind when I think about Yu-Gi-Oh cards that were inspired by pop culture is the elemental hero Bubble Man. Because if you look at Bubble Man, he looks like a very cartoonish version of Batman from the DC Comics, shows, and movies. The design of Bubble Man's suit also looks a lot like Batman's costume in the sense that his helmet has two Batman-like horns at the top of his mask, or more in the head area you could say. And the mask also looks a lot like the classic Batman mask, which covers most of his face with the exception of covering his mouth. Furthermore, he has a bubble blaster which resembles the type of firearms that Batman uses in the main Dark Knight movies, such as the grapple gun. Also, Bubble Man's cape along with his belt design are also very similar to the cape and belt design that the Cape Crusader uses against many of his enemies, but most notably, it resembles the belt that Batman often uses to store batarangs, explosives, ammo, or gear in general. Similarly, cards like Hero Signal further reinforces the Batman-themed influence, since the skylight on the card's art creates a hero symbol which is classically associated with the same skylight from the Batman series. However, other heroes like Elemental Hero Burstinatrix may resemble other heroes like Wonder Woman or other Justice League-based heroes, since the spell card Fifth Hope has all of the original Elemental heroes posing in a Justice League-like manner. But those were the references I could gather in terms of the hero cards. But let me know in the comments if you found other references that kind of, match up with the hero cards that reference other heroes from like Marvel or DC. Let me know, I'm really interested to know. The next type of cards on this list concerns the Dinosaur archetype, where dinosaur-themed cards like Lost World are a direct reference to the 1997 movie Lost World: Jurassic Park, where the card's artwork depicts a terrain of dinosaurs interacting with each other in a cartoonish manner in this so-called lost world of the dinosaurs. Other cards like Jurassic World further reference the Jurassic Park movies, where the most recent movies are named Jurassic World, which they started back in 2015. It's important to note that the Jurassic World card was originally released in 2006, which is before Jurassic World in the whole movie series named that. But it's safe to say that there is still some inspiration potentially going from both sides. Cards like Soul Eating Oviraptor, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, and Giant Rex are not necessarily inherent references to the Jurassic Park movies, but being that the Raptors and the T-Rex play such iconic roles in the movies, you can say that they might be subtle references, being that Konami has made more overt references in the past. However, Giant Rex does look an awful lot like the red version of the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3. But speaking of giant movie monsters, the Kaiju Yu-Gi-Oh cards are based off of different monsters from the Godzilla series. For example, Thunder King the Lightning Strike Kaiju is inspired off of King Ghidorah, since Thunder King has a lightning theme which matches Ghidorah's lightning strike capabilities. That and their names do sound similar, Thunder King and King Ghidorah. And just like Thunder King, Ghidorah the Mystery Dust Kaiju is inspired by Mothra, since they're both moth-like in appearance, and it's probably one of the more overt references. However, the references further continue with Kumongus, the Sticky String Kaiju, which is a spider-like creature in appearance, which matches up with the Godzilla monster, Scylla, which is also spider-like in appearance. Now, these last few are not confirmed, but I think Gamecill the Sea Turtle Kaiju is inspired by Methuselah, which looks like a land turtle with tusks, and resembles Gameciel because it's turtle-like in appearance. But finally, I think Dogorian the Mad Flame Kaiju is inspired from the fictional monster Godzilla himself, since he looks like a lot skinnier version of Godzilla, but he just has wings. Furthermore, Dogorian seems to be able to breathe fire based on the card art, which is similar to how Godzilla can fire his atomic breath, or aka his heat beam, which is most recently seen in the previous movie. Now that we've talked about dinosaurs and giant movie monsters, we're gonna get a little more cosmic here. So, Cosmos are another archetype that draw inspiration from multiple movies and shows, but they predominantly reference Star Wars. Cards like Cosmo Landwalker resemble the Imperial Walkers from Star Wars, and something like Cosmo Sword Troopers is a more obvious reference to the Stormtroopers or even the Clone Troopers from the second Star Wars trilogy. Furthermore, Cosmo Dark Destroyer is a reference to the Imperial Star Destroyer, which was mainly seen in the first 3 Star Wars films. However, Cosmo Dark Eclipser looks a lot more like the destroyers in Star Wars in my opinion. But more famously, Cosmo Dark Planet symbolizes the Death Star, since it's pretty much like a space base just kind of floating there in outer space and just looks like a whole planet in itself. Furthermore, lightsabers are also referenced in the Cosmo cards, such as Cosmo Lightsword, where characters are seen fighting with light swords. That and the card Cosmo Dark Lady appears to be wielding a Sith lightsaber, which has a purple hue to it, and she's seen standing in front of several huge formations of sword troopers, just like the Stormtroopers, which were in the background of the Death Star in the Star Wars episode 6. However, in my opinion, cards like Cosmo Town may be inspired by the city of Coruscant from the second Star Wars trilogy, and the reason why I say that is because they have a very similar artwork, mainly because they're very dark in the way they're painted out or the way they're made in their artwork, and you can see basically how slim that the buildings are, which kind of resemble a lot of the slim kind of architecture that Coruscant had in the Star Wars movies. So that's why I say that it kind of resembles Coruscant. And because Cosmos seem to reference a lot of Star Wars characters, Cosmo Tin Can and Cosmo Strawman seem to reference R2-D2 and C-3PO, though some think Tin Can also references the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz series. And while we're on the topic of the Wizard of Oz, there are multiple references to this movie, such as Cosmo Scaredy Lion, which depicts the cowardly lion from the Wizard of Oz that try to come across as being tough. Furthermore, Cosmo Wicked Witch represents the Wicked Witch of the West, while Cosmo Good Witch represents the Good Witch of the North in the Wizard of Oz series. So I found those to be interesting, being that they're kind of in the same reference area as Star Wars. Next up are spirals, and what would this list be without video game references, specifically to the popular Metal Gear franchise. But before we get into the Metal Gear stuff, I knew that spirals had some influence by the Metal Gear series, but I didn't know that they had some James Bond influence. However, it does make sense that they have James Bond influence, especially because of the whole tuxedo theme that spirals have going on for them. Along with that, they also have the whole spy theme associated with them, hence spy rolls. And this is further supported by spirals having a card called Spiral Gear Big Red, which complements the Secret Spy / James Bond theme, since James Bond has an iconic car called Aston Martin DB5 that he uses in the 007 movies. And this big red car also kind of looks like a more modern version of this James Bond car, just with a sporty red paint job. Furthermore, it looks like Spiral's super agent seems to represent James Bond himself, when you take into account the big red reference, and it also looks like Super Agent seems to be the main spy in the Spiral lore, which parallels with James Bond being the protagonist in the 007 series. So I found that to be really interesting and kind of a unique reference that I didn't really know in advance. But as for the Metal Gear series, if you look at the card Spiral Gear Last Resort, it looks an awful lot like the Metal Gear Rex from the video games. For those of you who don't know what Metal Gear are, they are the enemy mechs that are used in the Metal Gear games. And Spiral Gear Last Resort looks a lot like the Metal Gear Rex because of its rounded shoulder armor. That and Last Resort seems to walk on two mechanical legs, just like the Metal Gear Rex model in the games. Furthermore, if you look at the card called Spiral Resort, the characters in the card art seem to be communicating with each other via these 3D projection screens, which kind of resembles the same way that Snake would communicate with his allies via the codex. This reference makes sense if you also take into account that the Spiral artwork looks very similar to the art direction used in the Metal Gear series. And this reference is not a stretch by any means, being that Konami not only owns Yu-Gi-Oh, but they also own the Metal Gear series. That and using the name Spiral Gear sounds an awful lot like Metal Gear, which I guess adds to the whole reference and kind of unites these small references all together in one. So I found that to be really interesting and really cool in terms of being a Metal Gear fan.
Showtime!
So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for these pop culture references that I found in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I found this to be really interesting because I knew some of these references and I didn't know, I guess, a few handful of these references. So this was a bit of a learning experience for me as well. And I hope it was a learning experience for you because I'm sure you might have known a few of these references, but you didn't really know others. But let me know what you guys thought of this video. I might do a follow-up where I kind of go over more references, because looking into the whole Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype series, there are tons of references to pop culture and just Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards in general. But let me know if you want to see a follow-up to that. And with that, that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to support more content like this, you can do so at my Necromancer1040 Patreon link down below. I normally post it in the description. You can check it out there along with the other things I normally post down below. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. And with that, I'll catch you in the next video. Alright, take care.